Hey guys, I'm going to do a flip through of this watercolor sketchbook that I just finished. I just painted the last page last night. I like to sort of review it before I put it into my box of finished books. I'm up in my art studio that has no furniture in it, so I'm sorry if this is a little echoey. And if you hear clicky clicky sounds, that's my dog Trixie walking around. Right now she's lying down. We're good. So anyway, here's the book. Maybe I'll try to say what I was working on. In this one, I'm still working on water. Representing water and its reflections, making it look flat where it's flat, making it look like it's moving where it's moving, and trying to represent it in a way that it doesn't look like a path. And then also I'm working on paths to try to make them not look like water. So beginning to work on trying to layer trees. And I think this photo is from Michigan. It's from a collection of photos that my dad and my sister took. Just a self-portrait from a photo, copying someone else's work online. This is a little statue from, I can't remember where, but from my travel photos. I like going into art museums and in the sort of figurine statue area. I take photos of the pieces that I like because they're really well lit and it gives me something to use sort of like a still life. This is from a photo that I took. I love the way vintage cars look. I'm gonna do a close up. You can see the way the paper took the paint. And that's what I like about this. And I did sort of accidentally foreshorten this, and I don't think it was intentional. I think it's just the way that it came out. I'm looking up close to see if I drew it first. I don't think I drew it first. I think I painted just freehand. But I do like to go back in with pencil and catch a couple of the really tiny lines that are essential to details. There are so many good automobile artists out there that I don't think I need to fill that niche. And so I'm doing this in my own style. And I feel like I need to defend this, but I'm at the point where I know I can draw things accurately, like architectural type realistic drawings or whatever. And but that's not what I'm trying to work on lately. And that's not what's fun to me. So. This is MapQuest, or what's it called? I always forget what it's called. Is it MapQuest? MapCrunch. And I think this is a fishing village somewhere. And I wrote junk because I didn't like it. I was working on things, like I said, working on paths, still trying to work on distance. This one lacks value. So if you squint at it, you can see that I didn't achieve lights and darks. So I just sort of kept playing with it and then finally gave up. So I called it junk. But I think junk is important to learn your lessons. On the other hand, this one I love. I took someone else's color palette. I flipped through Pinterest and found a color palette that I liked. I think I had to add one color, but I don't remember what it was. And then I painted from my own photo that I took in Central Park. And I really like this one. Every time I do a limited palette where I actually choose the palette ahead of time before I even sit down, I really like it. And even though I say that right now and I know it, I still don't do it. So it's something I need to institute. It's a path. I can't remember. This is from my own photo, but I can't remember where it was taken. So another thing I'm working on besides paths. Oh, I think this was taken in Texas. A path beside, there's an art museum that also owns a park there because they have statues. I can't remember what it's called. But instead of taking pictures of the statues, I ended up taking a lot of pictures of the foliage and stuff. But I really liked the character of this tree. So I was working on the path, but also trees, which is something that I'm still working on. Um, this is a still life, one of those dioramas from the Natural History Museum. So I wasn't any place that had these birds. I think I just took this photo. I think it could have been from a real photo, but I think this is one of those staged things, and I just felt like painting, and I grabbed, you have to strike while the iron is hot and just like start painting. So I think I just flipped through, grabbed a painting, and just started. This is from a photo at Central Park, I think. And this is Central Park, and then this is the waterway, the one where they were searching for the gun, Luigi Mangione's gun. And then these are the buildings, a representative of the buildings in the background. And still just trying to work on water, atmosphere, trying to make distant things look distant. And so what's difficult about watercolor is once you've put the color down, that's it, you're done. And you can't really pull it back away again or overlap over it. However, I did add, and this is kind of acceptable, white gouache, which is an opaque paint. So you can see I added a little bit of white, but I tried not to cheat. I could have, really added white everywhere. Another place that people add white, and I think I did a little bit, is these are called sky holes. And just to show that tree has an airy quality that you can see through it. So just experimenting. And so if somebody says this is a watercolor and then you see opaque paint on top, it's still acceptable. It doesn't mean that it's not a watercolor anymore. This is from a photo I took in Japan. I drew it really confidently and then painted it in, which is really fun because then it's almost like a coloring book and you're just painting in areas. And I had a lot of fun with starting with one color and allowing it to change from one color to another. So I think this kind of painting is what this paper is best at. And I smudged a little bit, so I could have gone and get this white gouache and come in and fix it. But the sketchbooks aren't meant to be finals. They're meant to be sort of rehearsal and dress rehearsals. This one is from a photo I took. I realize now that this would be okay if the sky wasn't so dark. I rarely sketch it out first, and I think what I did was I just did the sky, and then I painted this, and I think I should have thought ahead, and if the whole sky was this light blue, I think it would have worked a lot better. This is painted behind my house, actually where I'm standing right now, kind of like that way. And my friends will tell you I'm obsessed with these sort of almond shape. When you look at fields diagonally, the way, so it's gently rolling hills. Some people have planted things, other people have just mowed their yards. And so it just has that sort of neat, soft diamond shape. And I love looking out there and I love trying to capture it. So you'll see this if you look through if you have been looking at my work on Instagram, or if you look at my flip throughs, you'll see that I do this one quite often. This one was done without any sketching first. This is from a photo that I took in Fort Collins, limited palette. First I sketched it with a red pencil, which I think is kind of neat because it adds this sort of, I chose red because red is the complementary color for green, and it kind of pops the green, I think. And then this deer was a lot smaller in the photo, but I made it larger because I'm not very good at painting tiny stuff. And then I came in with a colored pencil and drew a couple of things. I think I only drew that. I don't see where else. You can see the red pencil here. And then I did the thing where you flick the brush to add just a few dots because it adds atmosphere. This is from a photo I took in Japan. I think I tried this I've painted this one a few times because I can't quite capture what I loved about the scene, which is my goal. When I'm painting a scene, I want you, the viewer, to see, oh, that's a fence, and those are stairs, and those are plants. But I don't necessarily need you, the viewer, to know it was in Japan, and I don't need you to know whether these trees were pink or not. They were. But so I'm not trying for accuracy of color, but I really want to capture what I loved about being there and make you feel like sort of you were there through my eyes on this day. I don't know if that makes sense. Well, sort of like when you're telling a friend a story and you're like, and then they said this and it was like this. And so that's what I'm trying to do. I really want to show you what I saw. But I'm particularly proud of this little fence. It almost looks realistic, which is really difficult. And I think I must have added gouache because I can't imagine that I had such a light touch that I was able to keep this transparent watercolors. Okay, this was done on location. Both of these were done on location at the same place. This is sitting up at a park, Lowry State Park, and so I'm sitting up in the mountains, and then Fort Collins is that way in the plains, so I'm sitting up in the mountains looking east, and then if I walked this way a little bit and turned that way, then this is what I'm seeing. So like if you connected them, this one would go right, this right here would be right here. So, and this is, I went home and put really bright green pastel on top, and then I stressed about whether it was going to smudge on the opposing page, so I sprayed it with fixative and it flattened it. So then I added the green again and I sprayed it again and it flattened it again, and so I give up. But if you see the one on Instagram, this green is a lot brighter because I took the photo before I added the fixative. And these were done with different paint sets. And here's another example of if I wanted to draw a perfect boat, I would, but that's not what my focus was. I was trying to capture the scene so that I could tell the story of the scene. There were people here, there were a lot of people standing here and jumping off, and it was a really hot and beautiful day, and just a gorgeous day. It's one of my favorite places to go and paint. This is from a photograph. This is from Map Crunch. And I had just gotten my granulating watercolors. And what granulating watercolors are, it has little sort of particles of watercolor that sit on top, and they don't soak into the paper. Trixie, lie down. I'm almost done, I swear. You're a good girl. They sit on top and they make it look sort of gritty. And so it really works on paper that has tooth. And what I mean by tooth, let's see if I could capture this anywhere. There. You see how the paper has little bumps in it? That's what we call tooth. And so when you have granulating paints, the granulations, the little gritty stuff, sort of sits on top and it goes in and out of the tooth, and it adds this kind of cool quality. So I think I used it mostly in the rocks. So this was my first. I kept seeing, let's see if I can make it focus. Just stepped on something. You'd think dogs wouldn't be clumsy, but I don't know if you can see it, but I used it on those rocks, and yeah, pretty much only at the rocks. Let's see, so right here. And then I flicked the white on top to add that atmosphere. So I just really wanted to find something that I could paint with my new the only color that I had gotten at that point was a black. If that interests you, mention something in the comments and I can give you some links to the ones that I tried. I also discovered that if you just buy only the black, I think might be something like Winsor & Newton Mars black, you can add the black to any color, any regular watercolor. Usually watercolor is a combination of dye and, I can't I can't think of what it's called. There's sort of two parts to it. One is the part that sucks into the paper and dries as a lower layer, and then the other is the little bits. And so if you add black, this Mars black, it's only the bits, and so you could you could mix it with a dye type watercolor, and between the two you would have a layered effect where this one soaks into the paper, and then this one sits on top. I don't know if that makes any sense. I'm learning a lot. This was a day when we were stuck out in the barn while, what were they doing? I can't remember what I think they were insulating inside the house or something, where we just had to get out of the house. We're toward the tail end of construction that has taken more than a year, and we're so just completely burned out. But we took the two dogs out into the garage, and then we opened the little garage door just enough that they could look out but not get out. And so I sat here and I painted this lower part is metal, and then there's glass above. This was sunlight hitting the concrete. I just thought it would be interesting to paint this weird shop vac. And then she kept moving, but I managed to capture her, I think. And this is an example of kind of what happens with watercolors. Once it goes dark, there's very little you can do to lift it. I'm still not, there are techniques for lifting watercolor and lightening them, but I was kind of happy with that, and I'm still not good enough to confidently do that, so I had to just leave it. And I don't know why. This is one I did upside down. This is a photo that my dad took in the 60s in Australia, and I think it was a black and white photo, and I interpreted it, and I just wanted to capture these two Australian girls that we don't know who they are. I think he was just enamored with, actually I think it is color, but it's faded color. I was enamored with, he was probably enamored with the way they looked, and then I was enamored with the photo. And I just like, even though it's from Australia, it still has sort of an Americana feeling to me. So back to that one. This is from a photo that I took, and I like that it's not only very, very realistic because it's looking down at, red sort of dirt and debris, cactus, but it also has an abstract quality to it. So one of the things that I've been trying to learn how to do or learn about myself is I love looking at abstract art, but I don't know where that part of me is as an artist. And I can see abstraction here, even though I was painting from a photo. So it's exciting for me that this has an abstract feeling to it. And I don't know. So maybe if you follow me over time, you'll see me move that direction. I would warn you against artists who paint the same way all the time and never develop, experiment, learn, and change, because then that's just, I don't know, it's more sort of gimmicky. And I think I respect more artists who are constantly moving and changing. So I don't want to get my happy meal figured out and then that's all I do. So I just wanted you to know, as my viewer, that a lot of what's happening for me is this kind of change where I pick a direction and I try going that way for a while. So anyway, I was getting philosophical. So I took a white pencil and I added in the little cactus, not everywhere, but enough to imply it, that's really hard for me because I also want to do every single thorn. Are they called thorns? Cactus. So to do enough that you can see that they're there, but not feel like obsessively compelled to draw every one of them. So I took myself on an art play date to the Denver Botanic Gardens because I have this idea of this is what artists do. this is what an artist needs to do. And I didn't like either of these. I like the colors in this one. This is a sort of a close-up of this one. I forgot something. I didn't have water or something. I forget what I didn't have, but so I was like, well, this is just a practice. I like this. And over here, I like the implied background, but I mean, these are okay, but they're more just practice and rehearsals, working on water, trying to add shadows. These are hard to do because there's an actual, like tires on a car, they have a way that they look. And if you mess them up, then I guess you sort of have to mess up all of them. I guess I did okay on these closer ones. But this is from a photo that I took of a field. This is a location that I've revisited a few times. And I love these distant fields and the little buildings. And this is an example of me trying to show you what the vista looked like and how I felt about it. And even though it's not like accurate, it does give you the feeling of what I saw. And I'm getting better at making distant mountains look that sort of brownish purpley color. So I think I did okay in this one. I probably could have, so I did go in with a pastel pencil, you can see, and added some of the stuff in front. These were, I think, scrub oak. It's a bush that has, the leaves look like oak leaves, and then they turn beautiful colors in the fall. And I think I was there just as they were turning. So it was a combination of the natural summer colors, the browns and the greens, but some oranges and stuff. But I didn't want to brighten these up too much and have them come too far ahead, because I also like these little cliffy mountain areas that have the red rock. Pretty happy with these trees too, the little groups of trees. Can you hear my stomach growling? It's lunchtime. So this one is from a photo I took in Estes Park off of one of the bridges. I'm pretty pleased with this one. I remember being frustrated, and I just kept working on it. There's a thing with art called the messy middle, and it's often the point where I used to give up, and it's before you add the highlights and the shadows and the lines, and you get your tiny brush out and or your pencil, and you add your little lines. Like, see this, I'm trying to point out this one. I think I actually took white paint and put this tree trunk back in because, you know, of course, up here in Colorado, we have aspen trees which have white trunks. So I drew in these things, and this isn't accurate, but I wanted to show this dark blocky building in the back. This is a path, and then this is water. So this really covers a lot of the things I've been working on. If you've been to Estes Park, you probably know exactly where this is, where you can see the clock. Standing on one bridge. I think this is downtown. And this is a parking area. I can't remember, it was 2 years ago, the photo. I painted this, right now it's January 25, so I only painted this 3 months ago. So in October and November, I went to Australia, and I didn't know it at the time, but I was about to arrive in mid-jacaranda season, and I found a photo of a jacaranda actually on a tourist website, and I painted from that photo because I wanted to see if the paints that I was planning to bring would have the right purple. And it's more of a bluish purple, which makes it really unusual. And if you go online and look at Australia jacaranda, and you'll see the colors are really unique, and they're really beautiful trees. They have this really nice arching look. A path. And I kind of like that I added this person wearing colors that don't go, because it's almost sort of a boring picture without it. Do you know what I mean? And then these are surprisingly a lot easier to paint than I thought. This is a location where some of my art friends and I met and painted. And I've painted this a number of times because I still can't capture what I want to show you, which is these sort of stands of trees. I think they're cottonwood, and the mountains in the background, distant mountains, a bank of clouds behind it, and the field in front. So you'll probably see this one a few times also because I can't quite capture it. So one of the things that I've been doing is allowing myself to draw non-realistic mark making. I don't know if you can see that. So I actually took a colored pencil in a lighter color and just drew little hash marks to show the foliage and to have it be okay that that's not what it really looked like. I don't know how to explain that issue. It's an issue I have. It's my own little problem. I mean, it's pretty. It's a little boring. Maybe I need to bring this guy over. Where was I? Oh, so this is a photo that I took in Australia. That's an accident. One of my pens was leaking. This is where I was working on, I have a couple of things I was working on. One is to make the sky a lot lighter. I think this might have been ocean, actually. I can't remember. I'll have to look back through my stuff. But they have these trees called gum trees, which is also eucalyptus trees. And they have a certain look where everything's sort of up at the top and then the branches reach up to them. And I love the way they look. And I can't quite catch exactly what I see and the reason I love them so much. So I'm going to keep working on that. And then, so the whole point of this painting was this tree. And then I kind of threw this in, and that's fine. It feels, it's hard to draw on bumpy paper, and I think that's what the issue is here. And I probably shouldn't have added so many details. And then here I was doing that thing where you just do mark making because I wanted to show the bushes in front. So really the whole point of this one was just to practice drawing this tree. And this was meant to be a much darker color. And here I added that light green colored pencil or pastel on top. You can see there. So, I mean, it's a practice. This was a photo from Japan, and this was this green murky water in front of, I can't remember where I took the photo, but it had these traditional Japanese buildings, you know, weeping. Oh, where was this? I can't remember if this is Japan. Let me think for a second. You know what? I can't remember if this was Japan or Australia because we also did some sightseeing in Australia with these buildings. But so this water was murky in the photo. I think this actually was in Sydney. From a photo, but trying to figure out how to make things in the back go back, how to make things in the front go in front, how to show the different types of trees without feeling like I needed to paint every single one of them. I feel like I was working with a new material, and so a lot of that was exploring that. Yeah, you know, that's from the Chinese Garden of Friendship in Sydney, near Darling Harbour. But there are little areas that I like. And I compare that to, for example, when I get a Costco pizza, by the way, it's $10. It's not the best pizza, but it's pretty good for $10. Well, I just don't like the center part. So I take the little pizza cutter and I cut all the crusts off, and then I eat the crust with just a little bit of cheese, and then my son eats the remaining triangle because he doesn't like the crust as much. But that's what I think of when I look at a painting like this and I'm like, I don't like that part, but I like that part. It doesn't mean that as a whole it's not it's fine. But I do, so I like these, why can't I think what they're called? Leaves on top of the water. And I like how I was trying to sort of play. I think these are acrylic markers I had just purchased. And I think I did a pretty good job on the rocks. And I like this orange. So I think if I hadn't added the buildings, I think this would have been good. Or maybe I should have just blocked these in. Anyway, the point of this video isn't to troubleshoot every single page. But anyway, just you can see where my mind is going when I'm looking at this. Like, it's okay, I would redo it, and this is what I would change. This was from a photo I took in Melbourne, which is spelled Melbourne, but if you say that, then you'll get chased out of town. So when you're in the city over here and you look across this little river, there's the city sailing club, and all these little buildings are sailing clubs. And actually there were tons of people and lots of little rowing club, little rowboats all along here, and lots of people in cars. And I was like, I don't need to be painting. My goal is to try to figure out, can I paint this water? So because of people coming in and out along here, the water was sort of, funky. So I feel like I did pretty well on this. I did draw this out in pencil ahead of time, which makes it a little easier because then you're just filling it in like a coloring book. And then I did add pencil at the end. So I did their oars in pencil, and I did I added a couple of details in pencil. So just so you know, it still counts as a watercolor painting if you go in and add a couple of details. So when you're in an art gallery and somebody says this is a watercolor, and then you're like, it has pencil in it, that still counts. And then I just did this one yesterday. This is an example of the granulating paint. This is just the black by itself. I don't like this one, but that's okay. So I just sort of played. I kind of wasn't in the mood, but I felt like I should paint. And then I looked up, there's this website called Dafont, D-A-F-O-N-T. You can choose fonts and then type in your word, and then it will show you your word, and then I take a screenshot, and then I use the screenshot. So I wanted to do a mono thickness font because I had this one brush that I wanted to use. So that one's kind of And then, see how the paper's all, I don't know if you can see it from there, but it was hard to paint on, and it was my last page. And I've been watching Slow Horses on Apple TV. Oh my God, such a good show. So we just got out some paints, and I painted an iCat design, which is basically these sort of diamond shapes, and I just kept layering and layering. When something was too bright, I'd paint over it or draw over it with acrylic paints. But really it was because this last page is really, like, it goes up and down, it's wavy. I don't think you can see it. But I couldn't do watercolor on it because it's so not flat. So that's my last page, and that's it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.